Let's all say it together. Sonic Mania 2 should have happened. In fact, I'm kinda surprised it didn't happen. This game reviewed surprisingly well for a Sonic game, and is by far one of the best 2D platformers we've gotten in the past few years. A sequel seemed more than likely, but let's also not forget that this is Sega we're talking about. Their entire fanbase gets divided whenever one of their employees sneezes.
Oh, come on! What did I do?
And with Sonic Superstars releasing in just a few weeks, it seems as though 2D Sonic is headed in a new direction, and it's unlikely we'll ever see a game akin to Sonic Mania ever again. But that's not going to stop me from theorizing what a potential sequel could have looked like. So today, let's go over my predictions for my dream game, Sonic Mania 2. Okay, so first up, we have to establish the story. My idea for the plot is that Dr. Robotnik is rebuilding his ultimate weapon, the Death Egg 2. I know, it's not the most original idea, but here's what I'm thinking. The original Death Egg from Sonic 2 was inspired by the Death Star from Star Wars. In case you've never seen Star Wars before, it's basically this giant mechanical battle station capable of destroying entire planets. It doesn't last long, however, because of the whole good guys always win cliché, but it's similar to what happens at the end of Sonic 2. Now in Star Wars, they try building a second Death Star, one far more powerful than the first one. So I think it makes sense if these stories paralleled each other once more, and continued the trend of rebuilding the same destructive weapon, but making it even stronger than before. And as far as the rest of the story goes, Sonic and friends see all this going down, and decide they have to put a stop to it. I mean, come on, what were you expecting? I've seen nutrition fact labels with more story than most Sonic games. This plot is fairly bare bones, but considering how lighthearted most 2D Sonic games are, I think this will be acceptable. Now, onto the playable characters. Of course, we have to have the series staples, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, with the ability to play Sonic and Tails separately, or at the same time. But what about the new characters? I predict that we'll get Amy Rose, as well as Fang the Sniper. Amy's been in Sonic Origins, as well as Sonic Superstars, so I think it makes the most sense to add her to this game as well. And as for Fang, yes, I'm aware that he's a bad guy, but I think that this character has some potential. I've always seen Fang as more of a neutral character more than anything. He doesn't necessarily align with the good or the evil, he's really only in it for the reward. I could definitely see Fang teaming up with Sonic & Co., at least for this game, and I think there's a lot that could be done to expand his character even further. I'll keep it short for this part, since there really isn't too much to talk about. Basically, keep the controls in each character's abilities the exact same way they were in the OG Sonic Mania. The controls in that game are already perfect, and don't really need any adjusting. Give Amy all her hammer attacks from Sonic Origins, and give Fang a shotgun to satiate the crowd who still thinks Sonic games should have more firearms. Just don't let something like this happen again. Ugh. Since the most iconic Sonic level, Green Hill Zone, was already brought back for Sonic Mania, I don't think Sega would be too keen on milking the stage for the 20th time in a row. And since this is Sonic Mania 2, I think it'd make the most sense to start off with the first level from Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Emerald Hill Zone. I've always preferred Emerald Hill over Green Hill because it always felt so much more lively. There's plenty of branching paths, the music is excellent, the colors are exuberantly vibrant. Just give us more of that, and I think it'll make for a great first impression. After that, I think it'd be great if it followed up with Sonic CD's Collision Chaos, otherwise known as who? This is one of the more forgotten stages from Sonic's past, but I do think there's enough here to offer a suitable remix. There's lots of bumpers, springs, and other fun mechanics that could be greatly expanded upon. And I even think it'd be cool if instead of the usual pinball-esque boss, the boss could be themed around Sonic Spinball. After all, the second level's boss in Sonic Mania 1 was themed around Dr. Robotnik's Mean Beam Machine, so it could definitely work. But that's all I want to see from Sonic Spinball, because that game does not deserve any love. For my third pick, I'm going to go with Sonic 3's Carnival Night Zone. Can you imagine how funny it'd be if the final boss for the stage was the Barrel of Doom? I mean, it's about time this behemoth screwed over the next generation of Sonic fans. Also, with all of the controversy surrounding Sonic 3's music, especially this level, it's hard to say as to whether or not Sega will be able to remix the original tracks. Considering they've been shying away from everything Sonic 3 related recently, I don't think it's very likely, but hey, a guy can dream, can't Next up is my concept for the first completely original stage, Emerald Mall Zone. Yeah, I know, I'm pulling a Coconut Mall from Mario Kart Wii, but hear me out on this one. Think about a level where you run up and down escalators, head for different shops, swim through a coin fountain. Not to mention, all of the badniks could be the mall security trying to stop Sonic from being a hooligan. And I think it'd be really funny to see all of the fake store names the developers could come up with as well. Rouge Jewelers, Silver Shoe Store, Vector's Pretzels, the possibilities are endless. Picking stages to bring back from Sonic 1 was tough, but I think I managed to pick the best ones. Starting off, Spring Yard Zone. The only thing I really want to see changed is the removal of all those slow-moving block sections. Gosh, they're annoying. Besides that, keep the springs, make the boss a little bit easier, and for the love of all things Sonic, please remix this song. Please, Sega, it's all I ask of you. Please, please, please. Pardon my French, but I'm about to say something controversial. I think Sega should remake Sandopolis Zone. Yep, that one level from Sonic & Knuckles that everyone can agree is absolutely horrible. Except me! Now, I wouldn't say this is peak classic Sonic or anything, but I do also think that this stage deserves more credit than it's usually given. I mean, come on, it's got sand!
I don't like sand.
The main problem most people have with this level is that it feels too slow most of the time. So the only thing I ask for is that they add some more speed sections to help freshen up the layout. Oh, and make King Boom Boo from Sonic Adventure 2 the boss at the end, that would be pretty sweet. Picture this. You're in the park on a warm, sunny day. The birds are chirping, there's a light breeze in the air, and you're sitting on a nice soft blanket nibbling on saltine crackers that you've packed in your picnic basket. Everything is absolutely perfect. But then Sonic blasts out of nowhere and completely wrecks everything with his sheer presence. Yep, that's basically my idea for the next original stage, Picnic Park Zone. Imagine a level where you're in a park, but for whatever reason, everything in it towers above you. The bushes, the trees, the saltine crackers, everything! Part of the stage could be inside a picnic basket with food the size of a mountain, or inside a tree with sticky sap everywhere, and the final boss could be a giant robo-dog that's gotten off his leash! I don't see something like this ever happening, but I do still really enjoy the thought of it. Heading back into the world of Sonic CD, my next pick from that game is Tidal Tempest. Let's be real here, this is just a much better version of Labyrinth Zone from Sonic 1. Everything about it feels like it was stripped right from that game, except that they took out all the bad parts and left in all the... Well, okay, there were no good parts in Labyrinth Zone, but you get what I'm saying. I don't really have too many ideas as to what new changes could be made to make this place feel more engaging. I mean, the only reason I picked it in the first place is because every Sonic game needs a water level, and it's not like I'm gonna pick Labyrinth Zone, so Tidal Tempest it is. Now, if I was the person in charge of picking out stages for the actual Sonic Mania 2, I would have picked out Sonic 2's Hilltop Zone in a heartbeat. But I've already predicted Emerald Hill Zone, which is arguably pretty similar to Hilltop, so I think I'm going to have to go with something else. Something like Mystic Cave Zone. This has never been one of my favorite Sonic 2 levels, but I think that a modern remix would give me some more appreciation for it. Just throw in some more spikes, less enemies, and the entire secret zone hidden beneath the stage. I mean, the developers of Sonic Mania 1 were the ones who brought this zone back to begin with. They did this to themselves. Time for another original stage, the sequel to Ice Cap, Chili Cliff Zone. This is going to be the game's main snow level, and I predict that it'll be a lot like Ice Cap Zone from Sonic Free. Remember how the beginning of Ice Cap Zone started with Sonic snowboarding down the mountain and it was so cool except for the fact that you couldn't control it? Well, what if they brought that part back, but turned it into its own playable sequence? And what if the first act was very calm and peaceful, but then the second act takes place during the middle of a blizzard and it's just a little bit harder to see everything? And if you happen to fall off one of the cliffs, it could take you down inside the caves beneath the mountains. And there could be Yeti monsters walking around, and Aurora Borealis could be in the background, and everyone could be able to ice skate. I could go on and on with my ideas for this stage. There's just so much potential for this concept. Sonic & Knuckles' Sky Sanctuary Zone sure is a special one. If they can make this level play half as good as it looks, then I think we'll be in business. And yeah, I know this is a one-act zone and all, but I have a feeling they'd find a way to make this stage work. Taking it back a notch, up next would be Sonic 1's Starlight Zone. My predictions for this level boil down to just making it feel better. The original version of this stage is fine, but it's definitely starting to show its age, especially compared to the rest of the levels from Sonic 1. All I ask is that they add some more loops, keep the banging soundtrack, and update the boss to be really over the top because... yeah. For the second to last traditional stage, I'm predicting Sonic Free's Launch Base Zone. That's it. And after finishing up that, Sonic hops onto Eggman's rocket to get to the game's final level, Death Egg 2 Zone. This stage will have more traps, more badniks, more obstacles than any other level in Sonic history. It will be incredibly long and serve as the game's ultimate test of all of the player's skills up to that point. And after 10 minutes of grueling level design and intense gameplay, you'll finally be at the final boss. Would you be surprised if I said it was the Death Egg robot again? But seriously, imagine a fight against a Death Egg robot akin to the Baby Bowser fight in Yoshi's Island. The Death Egg robot could be all the way in the background, and you'd have to dodge his pseudo-3D lasers, and the only way to defeat him would be by bouncing his missiles back from afar! That would be incredibly awesome, and a perfect evolution of the classic Final Showdown. But if you get all 7 Chaos Emeralds throughout your journey, you unlock an even final level, Phantom Finale Zone. It's just like Doomsday Zone, but even more bombastic than it was in the 90s. The game then ends with Super Sonic returning to Earth, Sonic reuniting with his friends while reminiscing about everything that just happened, and credits roll. Perfection. The classic Sonic games could never agree on a consistent special stage. Sometimes they were good, sometimes they were challenging, and sometimes they were whatever the developers felt like that morning. The original Sonic Mania special stages were entirely original, and I think that a sequel would probably follow a similar direction. That's why I propose a special stage themed entirely about Sonic R. It would function exactly like Sonic Mania special stages, except instead of trying to catch a UFO, you have to beat several other characters in a free lap race. If you get first place, you win a Chaos Emerald. If not, well, there's the exit, buddy. I'll admit it's a pretty stupid idea, but it'll all be worth it if we can get a digitized remix of Can You Feel the Sunshine? Just you wait! The original Sonic Mania had a variety of bonus modes included on top of the main campaign, So here's what I predict will be added on the side. A mission mode similar to the one found in Sonic Origins that has you complete a variety of tasks, such as collecting a certain amount of rings, destroying a set number of enemies, or completing a stage as fast as possible. How about co-op mode? And I don't mean that lame competition mode from the first game, I'm talking about the whole entire game. And what's the harm in adding online play just to be safe? A tag mode. If Sonic R can do it, so can you. A lock-on adapter that lets you combine both Sonic Mania 1 and 2 to create Sonic Mania 3. A modern mode where you play the game with updated 9th gen graphics. That surely wouldn't take long to make. DLC! They could add Shadow, Blaze, Big the Cat, a Sonic Spinball mode that turns the whole game into no! That's taking it too far. No way, Jose! So in conclusion, do I think any of these things will actually happen? No, at least not anytime soon. Maybe one day Sega will go back to the idea of remixing old levels and making a brand new game out of it. But with Sonic Superstars coming out so soon, I think it'll be a while before any of these ideas get realized. But look on the bright side. Every second Sega's not working on Sonic Mania 2 is another second they could be working on Sonic Adventure 3!
Huh, I finally did it! I finally made everybody happy! Achoo! Oh come on, it's allergy season!